Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, and welcome to the 2015 award ceremony of the International Children's Peace Prize. May we remind you to switch off your phone. Your applause for our host, journalist Mr. Fons de Poel.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Most welcome to the 2015 award ceremony of the International Children's Peace Prize. May I first ask you to please stand to welcome our guests of honor. Excellencies, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome in The Hague, in this wonderful historic setting, the Ridderzaal, or the Hall of Knights, in the very heart of the international city of peace and justice. And also welcome to all our viewers as this event is streamed live on the internet. Today, we celebrate a new winner of the International Children's Peace Prize, and once again this year the prize will be awarded by a Nobel Peace Prize laureate. It's a great pleasure, great honor to welcome in our midst the winner of the Nobel Peace Prize 2011. A very warm welcome to Li Mei Bowie. Li Mei, it was not exactly foreseen in the program that already you would enter the stage, but to say it again to you, a warm welcome. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
Of course, we regret that Mr. Mohammed Yunus cannot be with us today because of health problems. We wish him well and a speedy recovery. And we are extremely proud that most of our Children's Peace Prize winners are here today to welcome the 2015 winner later on, who is in their midst already. Welcome back, Children's Peace Prize winners. Stand. Our ceremony will be opened by Mr. Martin van Rijn, State Secretary for Health, Welfare and Sport. We are very thankful for the cooperation with the Ministry and are happy that Mr. van Rijn has agreed to host this event on behalf of the Dutch government. Your warm welcome, please, for Mr. Martin van Rijn.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 11th International Children's Peace Prize ceremony, here at the Knights Hall in the heart of The Hague. I'd especially like to welcome 6 former winners who've joined us today, and I hope I say your names correctly. Tondiwe from Zambia, you can applaud for him as well. Barouani from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Om Prakash from India. Cash from the Philippines. Francia from the Dominican Republic. And Kaylee from South Africa. Kaylee climbed this year the Mount Kilimanjaro in her wheelchair. What an achievement, and congratulations. Like all the nominees for the Children's Peace Prize over the years, you are driven and passionate young people. You have a mission, and you don't sit back and wait for governments to take action. You want to make the world a better place for your fellow children, not only by starting your own projects, but also working with Kids' Right youngsters. You united to make sure that decision makers all over the world turn their fine words about children's rights into concrete action. I greatly respect and admire your achievements. The same goes for this year's nominees. The winner will be announced later this afternoon, but no matter who wins this prize, there can be no doubt that all 3 are an inspiration for children and adults alike. In its short history, the Children's Peace Prize has clearly proved its worth. But right now, with children fleeing conflict in their millions, it's especially important that we listen to our youngest generation. According to the UN refugee organization UNHCR, there are now nearly 60 million displaced persons and refugees worldwide. Half of them are under 18, a number that's hard to imagine. Every day on TV, we see children fleeing their homelands and crowding into makeshift camps. And those images speak volumes. They show that many children around the world lack even the most basic children's rights. The United Nations Convention of the Rights of the Child, signed and ratified by 196 nations, says that governments must ensure children have a safe place to live. A place without war or poverty, where there is enough to eat and drink, where children have a home to live in, and where they get to school and be protected from abuse. But for many, the reality is different. So I am pleased that 33 European children ombudsmen have formed a project group to focus the attention of Europe's leaders on the rights of the tens of thousands of refugee children coming to Europe, mainly from Syria. We need to provide safety, education and care, so that these children, often traumatized by war, can pick up their lives as best as they can. This project group is being led by the Dutch Ombudsman for Children, Mark Dullard. The Kids' Right Index shows how countries around the world perform on upholding children's rights. And I'm responsible for the Netherlands youth policy, so I keep a close eye on the index. Norway currently runs top ranking, and the Netherlands is second place. But while second place is great, it means there is still room for improvement in our own country. We will keep on working hard for children's rights. The Kids' Right Index wasn't launched only to show how well certain countries are doing. It also shows where in the world serious improvements need to be made. The International Children's Peace Prize lends a helping hand to children who are dedicated to improving the situation in these countries. And I also hope that the prize encourages all nations to do more to protect children's rights. I thank you very much.
The ABN AMRO Bank and the International Children's Peace Prize have a partnership now for 10 years. And when the idea of the prize was first developed by Mark Dullard, not everybody believed it could work. Yet ABN AMRO Bank did. From the first award ceremony here in the Ridderzaal in 2006, ABN AMRO has supported kids' rights in working towards a world where all children are enabled to realize the great potential they have within them. Your attention, please, for Mr. Johan van Hal, Vice Chairman of the Managing Board of ABN AMRO.
Distinguished guests, Children's Peace Prize winners, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy to stand here in front of you and to celebrate the 11th International Children's Peace Prize with you. I realize this is a very special moment for the winners, but also in the lives of millions who are watching us today. And why is that? Why is today's occasion so special? Why will children and adults from all countries benefit from this prize? The answer, I believe, has to do with learning. Learning is not only for children. Adults like me, who often think they don't need to learn anymore and know it all, in particular need to learn. If we as adults continue to learn, we can stop children's suffering, improve children's rights, and make this world a better place for all people. So let us pretend we are in school today again. Now what do we need? We need 4 things. First, we need a teacher. Second, we need a lesson. Third, we have to practice. And fourth, we need an evaluation. So let's start with the teachers. Today, we have more than one teacher in the house. They are the winners of the Children's Peace Prize. They stand up for their cause. They speak from their own experience. They inspire me, you, and others. And I think we can all agree they qualify as excellent teachers, right? So I can move on now to the second point. What could our lesson be? The first winner of the Children's Peace Prize in 2005 was 11-year-old Ngozi Johnson from South Africa. He had an extraordinary lesson for us. If you are a child and you have AIDS, you are not abnormal. If you want to go to school, do it, because you are a human being. And that's a wonderful lesson. Last year's winner of the Children's Peace Prize was Neha Gupta. Neha raises money and helps orphans in India. And her lesson is, you have to look at your life and turn it around in a positive way. You have to look at your life and turn it around in a positive way. And that's a very wise lesson too. So we have teachers and we have lessons, and now we need training. And this can be our exercise. Whenever we see a person being treated unfairly or a situation that is wrong, we can engage in a courageous conversation. And what exactly does that mean? It means you gather your courage and start talking with the person about the problem you see and what you want to change. And this can be big, it can be small, it can be at home, in your street, in your city, it can be at work or at school. I myself usually feel very insecure when I start doing this. I sometimes try to avoid having a courageous conversation and I wait too long. However, I've also noted that the more often I have these courageous conversations, the easier it becomes. In today's world, we all know that children's problems are numerous and complex. Many children live in war zones and in refugee camps. There are many problems in education and healthcare, and of course, many of them live in poverty. Ordinary people like us also need to address these painful issues and start talking about them. We also need to be courageous because change starts with courage. And now the final and most important question: does it work? Look back at already what has been done. Have we achieved anything by taking these lessons and start practicing? And I believe the big surprise is, yes, it does work. Even if you think you don't have the power to change situations, you do, if you dare. And the power of sincere people talking about change and doing that results in real and impressive change. We have to work hard for that, but we can make the difference. That's why our bank also sponsors the Children's Peace Prize from the start of it. Winners, we are your fans. We believe in your goal to empower children, and we believe you truly are an inspiration to us and to the world. And we will continue to support you. And as of last year, we also support the Youngsters, the platform for the united group of prize winners from the past 10 years. Uniting with others multiplies your strength. I'm sure we can learn much more from you in the future. And I hope you can be teachers for many more people and many years to come. We need your wisdom and we need your energy, and the world needs your lessons. And we will continue to support you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, last year the International Children's Peace Prize celebrated its 10th anniversary. And a very special gift was presented later that year in Oslo, when the Children's Peace Prize winner of 2013, Malala Yousafzai, and long-term partner of kids' rights, Kailash Satyarthi, were jointly awarded the Nobel Peace Prize 2014. This was a most encouraging recognition of children's rights worldwide.
Last year, the children of the world received very encouraging news. The Nobel Peace Prize Committee selected 2 extraordinary advocates for children's rights. Kids' Rights long-term partner Kailash Satyarthi and winner of the International Children's Peace Prize 2013, Malala Yousafzai. The committee chose these 2 winners for their struggle against the oppression of children and young people worldwide.
Even if one single child is denied childhood, it's a scar on the face of humankind. And we are now talking of millions, rather hundreds of millions.
Since 2007, Kids' Rights has been a leading partner of Kailash's organization BBA in India. Together, we have rescued thousands of children from slavery and bonded labor, have established numerous child-friendly villages, and changed national legislation in the field of child labor. We have recently started a new project with Kailash to give tens of thousands of children in rural India a stronger voice.
The challenges are enormous, and they will not be solved instantly. But at the heart of the solution is one simple thing: the right of every girl to be educated.
Nominated for the Children's Peace Prize in 2011, Malala became famous in Pakistan. When she survived an attack by the Taliban in 2012, she became world famous and continued her campaign for the right to education for girls worldwide. Malala's dream was to give back to the children in the Swat Valley, her birth ground in Pakistan. Working together with Malala, her family and the Kapal Kaur Foundation, Kids' Rights is realizing 2 concrete projects that increase the number of girls receiving an education now and in the future. Kids' Rights is proud that it has brought forth 2 remarkable Nobel Peace Prize winners. We hope that by awarding the 2014 prize to Malala and Kailash, children around the globe feel supported and empowered to move the world for children's rights.
Also at last year's celebration, we welcomed the Kids' Rights Youngsters, a unique youth-led and awareness-raising platform of the International Children's Peace Prize winners that aims to realize children's rights. The youngsters, as they are represented here, urge decision makers to put their words into action, to constantly put children's rights at the core of international agendas, and to collaborate with children and youth to substantially improve the quality of life of children all around the globe. It has only been for 1 year now, but the youngsters have already accomplished great things in 2015. Let's take a moment to look at a video of the youngsters and their achievements.
Last year, right here in the Hall of Knights, we introduced the Kids' Rights Youngsters, a unique platform of the Children's Peace Prize winners joining forces to realize children's rights. It's amazing how much they have accomplished in just 1 year.
After winning the prize, no one of us stood still. We grabbed the opportunity to use this platform with both hands to improve outward.
Through their stories and actions, they have inspired and supported children, youth and adults alike to substantially improve the quality of life for children around the globe.
I'll work with all the winners of the International Children's Peace Prize, and as well as all those children, all those young people who are working for the rights of children.
Immediately after launching the youngsters, they joined Nobel Peace Laureate Kailash Satyarthi in the End Child Slavery campaign.
The youngsters support the End Child Slavery Week in their advocacy. And we need to ensure that the abolition of child slavery is incorporated in the post-2015 development agenda.
The campaign collected 550,000 signatures to bring the abolition of child slavery one step closer. Child slavery, labor and trafficking are now included in the Sustainable Development Goals. When a school in Peshawar was brutally attacked in December 2014, killing at least 130 children, the youngsters wrote an open letter to the United Nations, stressing the importance of children's education and safety in the Sustainable Development Goals.
I'm honored to welcome Ms. Thandiwe Chama.
Youngster Thandiwe shortly thereafter wrote history by being the first young African woman to address the UN ECOSOC Forum in New York.
Thank you. Your Excellencies.
She urged world leaders to work together with children and youth in developing and implementing the new development agenda.
I have to speak for other children who cannot be here at this event. So it's like I'm a voice to the voiceless.
Children are at the center of the refugee crisis. In August, governments, UN entities and youth from around the world gathered at the Global Forum on Youth, Peace and Security in Jordan to address the role of youth in peace building. Selected from over 11,000 young leaders, youngster Barouani was invited to propose solutions to improve the situation of child refugees.
My name is Ahmed Hindawi and I'm the United Nations Secretary General's Envoy in Youth. I had the privilege of meeting several kids' rights youngsters. Barouni Naduma, who met him just recently in Amman. Young people like them have the capacity and dynamism to create change in their communities and the world.
The Kids' Rights Youngsters support thousands of children and youth around the globe to be change makers in their own communities. With their voices, they continue to inspire, and with their actions, they continue to conquer the seemingly impossible, like Kaylee most recently. She is the first quadriplegic to reach the top of the Kilimanjaro. An extraordinary and powerful way of highlighting her ability and proving what one can accomplish through teamwork and collaboration.
Ladies and gentlemen, representing all the winners of the International Peace Prize for Children, here a very, very warm welcome to Thandiwe, Kes and Barouani. Please come in. Hi, Thandiwe. Hi, Kes. Start with Thandiwe. How does it feel to be in The Hague?
I love it, and it brings back memories of the time I won the prize. Yeah.
We saw you at the ECOSOC Forum in New York, where you met the Secretary of the United Nations, Ban Ki-moon. How was that?
I felt really great meeting the Secretary General. He was friendly and willing to listen to issues that concern us, youth and children around the world. And it is very important to have a forum to discuss issues concerning children's rights. And meeting Ban Ki-moon is the best person to share ideas and thoughts on.
Were you nervous or impressed by the man?
I was nervous, I can't lie, but he was very warm, welcoming me, and I felt as if I've known him for quite a long time. He was really friendly.
And why was it so important to meet this man?
It was important because he's the Secretary General and he's the boss of the UN, and meeting him and sharing my thoughts on human rights and the concerns of children. I know it has I directly spoke to him, and I know that something will definitely come out from the speech that I gave and the ideas that we shared for sustainable development.
So it was a unique opportunity for you.
Very much, thank you.
I'm turning to Kes. Kes, can you come closer to me? Kes, you were the guest of honor and the keynote speaker at the annual European Children's Summit last summer. That was also a unique opportunity, I guess. What message did you bring there?
So my message for them is that the age, your situation in life, even when you are rich or poor, it should not keep you from making a difference in your community. And I'm very happy that I represent the kids' rights youngsters well. And at the conference, I met many young people from Europe, and actually I met and I was impressed by a group of boys growing up in a foster care, and I learned a lot about their challenges in life, and I never knew that there's also children that were abused and neglected here in Europe. So
you were surprised by that?
Yes, I'm very surprised.
And what did it bring you, this meeting there?
So actually, learning from them is it's very special, and I think with all the thoughts that we learn from the youngsters, we can help them through that.
How does it feel for you to be back here in The Hague in this very official environment?
I feel very special, and I'm very happy that I'm here and to congratulate the new winner.
Well, we are extremely happy to have you here. You're really change makers. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you for this moment. Thank you very much. And I'm turning to Bharwani because I want to give you the stage. That seems to me better. So may I invite you to go back to your seats, and Bharwani, may I invite you. The floor is completely yours in the next minutes. Thank you.
My name is Bharwani Esther Shindume. I am from Democratic Republic of Congo. I have been a refugee for 16 years now. I was forced to flee my home country when I was 7 years old because of the war. One morning, a group of soldiers came to our village. They forced everyone, including me and my mother, and put them on house, and they set the house on fire. I was just a small boy at the time. I could escape on the door. I left my mother and other villagers inside, and I just ran. That was my last time I saw my mother, and I just ran. Running from my village, I got on a small motorboat with many people on it. It took until 7 hours until I arrived in Tanzania. I had no idea where I was going, and that was my last time to saw my home country. In Tanzania, I went to Nyarugusu refugee camp, where a foster family took me in. The first period was really difficult for me. I was mistreated, I got beaten, and I didn't get enough food or clothes from my family. Also, I was forced to do hard work. My life was changed when I learned about children's rights at school. I realized I was not alone, and I knew I could make a difference. And I wanted to improve my situation and that of other refugees like me. And so I decided to support them in voicing out their problems. Through my radio show, I reunited 50 children with their parents after war. Through sports and setting up a children parliament, I continue to bring young people together, promoting human and tolerance. Also, I speak up about our situation to decision makers. Last summer, after the Global Forum on Youth, Peace and Security in Jordan, I addressed the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, Mr. Antonio Guterres, to help us hold the states accountable to ensure education and jobs opportunities for refugee youth. Refugee camps were meant to be a temporary solution, but is still 16 years still temporary? The camp I live in was established almost 20 years ago, and we are 64,000 people in total. Men, children, and youth were born in Yargus camp, or they come in the camp at very young age, like I did. We have no memories of living in freedom. And the numbers keep on growing. In the last months, my friends and I have supported many children who fled from the current political crisis in Burundi with food and drinks. More than 100,000 people have literally flooded our camp already. I support children's rights, but I know I cannot solve the world's problem on my own. Structural problems need structural solutions. Every day, thousands of lives get torn apart by war. Almost 60 million people are on the run, and over half of them are children. Through my story today, I share the stories of more than 30 million children refugees like me. My heart bleeds for the grief, suffering, and distress they are faced with. The fear of not knowing where you are heading to, not knowing when and if you will ever go home. I know what that is like. At this very moment, thousands are undertaking highly dangerous boat trips to Europe. Families, young men and women, children on their own. I see them holding each other and the few things they can carry in their two hands. They risk their lives in search of safety, a future. Not because they want to be, but because there is no other option. On the way to Europe, the world's wealthiest continent, children are drowning in international waters. Children are the center of the global refugees crisis. If you cannot end the wars, we have a moral obligation to protect children as they flee. As an International Children Peace Prize winner and Kiswahili youngster, I will take every chance to speak up about children refugees and my contributions to change. Yesterday, we visited child refugees from Syria, Afghanistan, and Iraq here in Amsterdam. The Netherlands, the child should go through what they have gone through. We need to listen to their stories, and we must protect them. I believe that everyone can make a change, whether rich or poor, no matter what age or background, gender, whether refugee or whether hosting them, we can all move the world. I'm going to give it all I have. I owe it to myself, and I owe it to the millions of children refugees who are forced to grow up away from home. And I will not stop. Remember, behind all the statistics and the stories are really lives. We are refugees, we are children, and we are human beings. Thank you.
Thank you, Barwani. Thank you very much for your impressive words. As we can see and feel, the youngsters have achieved a lot already in their first year of working together. And I will not stop, he said, and we believe him. Kids' Rights and the youngsters have recently started a collaboration with the International Criminal Court. The youngsters will support the court to develop policy on children. Their input will help the court to improve its interaction with children when they, for instance, affected by crimes, are going through the process of justice. Justice for Children is this year's theme of the Children's Peace Prize winner. But what does it mean, justice for children? And how can one work with children to achieve justice? Ladies and gentlemen, the Chief Prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, please welcome Ms. Fatou Bensouda.
Your Excellencies, winners of the International Children's Peace Prize, ladies and gentlemen, permit me at the outset to extend my deepest gratitude to Kids' Rights for hosting this important award ceremony and for inviting me to address you this afternoon. The great Nelson Mandela once said, "We owe our children, the most vulnerable citizens in our society, a life free of violence and fear." As we celebrate the achievements and extraordinary story of courage and wisdom and vision of the award recipient today, it is also an opportune occasion to recognize the need to intensify our efforts to advance the rights of children and to shield them from harm, in particular in times of conflict. In most armed conflicts, the recruitment of child soldiers, sexual slavery, attacks on schools, or forced displacement, to name but a few examples, are regrettably common occurrences. These heinous crimes are not only repugnant to our collective conscience, but are simply devastating to children's lives, their families, and communities. My office is firm in its commitment to robustly investigate and prosecute perpetrators of these crimes to the full extent of the law. Our cases to date attest to this assertion. We are also committed to fully respecting the rights of children with whom we interact and to have their best interests treated as a primary consideration. Ladies and gentlemen, the Rome Statute, which is the founding treaty of the International Criminal Court, is a most powerful legal instrument which can be employed in the fight against crimes against children in and affected by armed conflict. When I assumed office as prosecutor in 2012, I stated that in addition to focusing on children who are forced to carry arms, we must also address the issue of children who are affected by arms. I emphasized my pledge that such egregious crimes and their victims will not be ignored. To this end, I have elevated this issue to one of my office's strategic goals, and we are currently in the process of developing a policy on children. This policy will be a comprehensive elaboration of how my office handles and intend to handle systematically approach children's issues in all aspects of its work. It will address not only issues relating to crimes against children, but also those relating to our interaction with children in the judicial process. For instance, through our delicate handling of issues relating to the protection and support of children who are witnesses and victims in order to avoid re-traumatization. I consider it vitally important that in the process of developing our policy, the voices of children are meaningfully taken into consideration. To this end, my office has been organizing consultations with children and young people from various countries in Africa, Latin America, and Asia, including but not limited to those who have experienced conflict or judicial process. In this regard, I want to acknowledge the invaluable assistance of Kids' Rights in partnering with my office to organize a consultation session with the winners of the International Children's Peace Prize later this week. We look forward to benefiting from the insights of this talented and most impressive group of young individuals as we develop our policy. Ultimately, it is my hope that this policy paper, once adopted, can also serve as a guide for states and other relevant actors in their work to combat crimes against children and to address children's issues in the judicial process at the national level. Ladies and gentlemen, I will conclude these brief remarks by observing that crimes against children in conflict destroy the individual, shatter the family unit, and tear violently at the social fabric of society. They rob children of their innocence, childhood, and often tragically of their lives. They rob society of its future potential and of its greatest resource. We must work together in an integrated and coordinated fashion to achieve our common goal and indeed responsibility to address the devastating impact of war and conflict on children. A crime against a child is an offense against all of humanity. We must end the scourge of violence against children during conflict, and I am confident that together we can. I thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bensouda. Sir Edward William Elgar was an English composer, and many of his works entered the British and international classical concert repertoire. Amongst his best-known compositions are the Enigma Variations, 14 variations on an original theme, composed over a period of 5 months between October 1889 and February 1899. The Rotterdam Philharmonic has its roots deep in the classical music tradition. Joined by the choir Consensus Vocalis in an orchestration by Henk de Vlieger, variation number 9, Nimrod. with this impressive performance, we have come to the most important part of this afternoon, the awarding of the International Children's Peace Prize. The statute here is called the Nkosi, named after the first winner, Nkosi Johnson. And each year it's uniquely sculpted by Inge Ikink. It shows a child pushing the world in motion, and it's now also the new logo of Kids' Rights. To date, we have honored 10 extraordinary children in their courageous actions to make the world a better place and to promote children's rights. Let's take a moment to look at a video presenting the history of the International Children's Peace Prize.
The International Children's Peace Prize is an initiative of the Dutch Kids' Rights Foundation. Every year, this prize is awarded to a child who bravely fights for children's rights anywhere in the world.
We are normal. We are human beings.
The first Children's Peace Prize was posthumously dedicated to Nkosi Johnson. During his short life, he pleaded for the rights of HIV and AIDS-infected children. In 2006, at the age of 14, former child slave Om Prakash Gunya received the prize. It was presented by Nobel Peace Laureate and former President of South Africa, de Klerk.
This young man is adding already to the stature of this Peace Prize. Congratulations, Om.
इंटरनेशनल चिल्ड्रंस पीस प्राइज मिलने के बाद में अंतर्राष्ट्रीय और राष्ट्रीय स्तर के जितने भी नेता थे, जितने भी लोगों से मैं मिला, उन्होंने मेरी बात सुनी और सुनने के लिए अभी भी कई नेता तैयार हैं।
In 2007, 16-year-old Thandiwe Chama from Zambia received the prize. It was awarded by Sir Bob Geldof and Nobel Peace Prize winner Betty Williams.
And they are young. They are supposed to go to school. Instead of going to school, they are busy doing that.
Thandiwe received the prize because of her extraordinary effort for the right to education for all children. In 2008, 17-year-old Maíra Avelar Neves from Brazil received the 4th International Children's Peace Prize for her battle against violence in Vila Cruzeiro. Maíra received the prize from Nobel Peace Laureate Desmond Tutu.
Hey, just look, there's a little angel who goes and wipes the tears from God's eyes.
Talvez querer paz seja o mais comum no cotidiano da favela de Vila Cruzeiro. Não somos dignos de pena. O mundo é digno de pena.
In 2009, the Children's Peace Prize was awarded to 16-year-old Baruani Naduma from DR of Congo. It was Nobel Peace Laureate Wangari Maathai who presented the prize to him. He received the prize for his work promoting children's rights in the refugee camp in Tanzania, where he lives.
Ndio, nataka kila mtoto sauti yake isikike na haki zake za yule mtoto ziweze kuheshimika na kutekelezwa.
In 2010, 16-year-old Francia Simone won the prize. She campaigns for the right to name and nationality of children in the Dominican Republic.
Haber ganado este premio infantil por la paz para mí significa algo importante, porque yo ni tan siquiera pensaba de premio. Ahora mucho, o sea, el mundo entero me van a conocer y le van a poner en práctica este tema, van a ver que es importante, nombre y nacionalidad.
Nobel Peace Laureate Rigoberta Menchú-Tum presented the prize to Francia. In 2011, 17-year-old Kaylee Mycroft from South Africa was the winner. She fights for the rights of children with disabilities, especially for those living in marginalized communities. Thanks to her, over 3,000 children a year receive support, therapy, and custom-made wheelchairs.
A lot of disabled people can't physically voice what they need and what they deserve, and I can.
Kaylee received the Children's Peace Prize from Nobel Peace Laureate Mairead Maguire.
Ngosi sikeleli
In 2012, Desmond Tutu, patron of kids' rights and the International Children's Peace Prize, honored the winner.
Hey, you oldies, listen to the children. Listen to the children. Listen and act.
Kes received the prize for helping street children in the Philippines.
Ibig sabihin po nun ay, kung meron po tayong pusong tumulong, yung puso po tayong mag-aruga, pwede po natin mabago yung mundo po natin through doon po sa isang tao po.
In 2013, the prize was awarded to 16-year-old children's rights activist Malala from the Swat Valley in Pakistan, who fights for girl empowerment through education. On October the 9th, 2012, Malala makes headline news around the world. She and her friends are attacked on the bus from school. Malala is shot on the left side of her forehead. She is rushed off to hospital and survives the attack. Malala makes a miraculous recovery in a hospital in the United Kingdom, surrounded by her family. She continued to speak out.
I want to live in a world where education is valued in every corner of the globe and no one is excluded from it.
Nobel Peace Laureate Tawakkol Karman from Yemen presented the 2013 International Children's Peace Prize to Malala.
It's the only thing that there's just too little.
On the 18th of November 2014, the prize was awarded to Neha Gupta.
The expert committee of the International Children's Peace Prize has decided to award the 2014 Children's Peace Prize to Neha Gupta.
Neha received the prize for her inspiring work helping orphaned and underprivileged children in both India and the United States, where she lives. Her work has inspired youth all over the world to take action. They have started with their own projects and assist Neha in her work. And it works. Children are empowering other children. Neha proves that children can be change makers and that they really can make things happen. Already, 25,000 children will never ever forget that.
My message to the world is to convert empathy into action and make a difference in other people's lives.
The Children's Peace Prize is not only a sign of recognition for these young winners. Kids' Rights offers them a platform to promote their message, reaching hundreds of millions of people worldwide. They set a great example of how children can move the world.
Beautiful emotions on the first row. The importance and the recognition of this prize has grown tremendously in the last 10 years. More importantly, the Children's Peace Prize has a major impact on children's rights worldwide. Year after year, the young winner has given many voiceless children a voice, and in this way has focused global attention on important issues of children's rights. Each year, the message of the young winner inspires hundreds of millions of people worldwide. The Children's Peace Prize is accompanied by a project fund of €100,000. And each year, this fund is invested by Kids' Right in projects that are closely connected to the winner's area of work in the country of the winner. And over the past 10 years, Kids' Rights has directly supported almost 90,000 vulnerable children through these project funds. Mr. Mark Dullard is the founder of Kids' Right and the initiator of the International Children's Peace Prize. And since 2011, he's also the first children's ombudsman of the Netherlands. Mr. Dullard, may I invite you on stage?
Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, Nobel Peace Laureate Ms. Bowie, Ms. Bensouda, Mr. Martin van Reijnen, Secretary of State, and dear Children's Peace Prize winners, welcome. Today, I think it's a very special day. It's the 11th award ceremony here in the Ridderzaal in The Hague. And before I start my speech, and it will be a tiny one, don't be afraid, I'd like to especially thank two persons who worked very hard and have an everlasting commitment to kids' rights and the Children's Peace Prize. And they're never in the limelight. So I'd like to ask Cindy de Visser to stand up, please. She's the director. She's the director of Kids' Rights. And I'd like to ask my wife, Inge, to stand up. She founded together with me Kids' Rights and the Children's Peace Prize. Inge, stand up. I just heard that we have only 100 million viewers at the moment, so the limelight is yours now. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, today we honor 3 bright nominees. And I think that their remarkable stories demonstrate that children can be creative, persistent, and passionate defenders of children's rights, even when facing great injustice. So it's a pleasure and a privilege for me to present you the 3 nominees for the International Children's Peace Prize 2015. The first nominee is Aziza. Aziza from Afghanistan. She's 13 years old and lives in a refugee camp in Kabul. She comes from an area that was completely destroyed and covered by landmines during the Taliban period. Since she was only 10 years old, she has been actively advocating the rights of thousands of Afghan children living under miserable circumstances in refugee camps. Aziza motivates especially girls to claim their rights and let their voices be heard, and I think she's a hero. The second nominee is Danessa from Puerto Rico. She's 17 years old, and when she was only 14, she started an initiative against human trafficking, consisting of workshops and raising awareness under vulnerable children. In this way, she prevented many children from human trafficking, and I think she gave them a real chance at life. And finally, there is Keita from Liberia, 17 years old, and he is fighting for justice for children who are victims of physical and sexual violence. Through his petitions and protests, perpetrators has been brought to court and held accountable. Keita was also the driving force behind the Children's Act of 2011 in his motherland, Liberia. Above all, he did this in a peaceful and powerful manner. Ladies and gentlemen, so hearing these remarkable stories, we can conclude that there is still hope. And there's also hope because the 25-year-old Convention on the Rights of the Child is ratified now by nearly all the world's nations. So the special position of children is globally acknowledged. Even on rare occasions, something happens that sends shocks waves around the globe. It occurs when something happens to a child. For example, this summer, photos of a drowned child shocked the world and caused a significant turning point in the European refugee debate. But there is still a considerable gap between the good intentions of nations and policymakers and the public opinion and the everyday lives of children. The question is now, how can we step by step close this gap? Take the recently ratified UN Sustainable Development Goals, a necessary list of ambitions regarding issues like poverty, hunger, and global warming. And of course, it is important to have such a dot on the horizon for 2013. But in the end, what matters most are the results. How do they affect the lives of children? One of the lessons we can learn from today's nominees is that there's indeed hope if we let children participate and let them help us to bring results, to close that gap. So we should engage them and ask them what they need in order to reach their full potential. Because the too often untapped potential of children and youth, 1/3 of the world's population, 1/3, this untapped potential is huge. As Children's Peace Prize winner Malala, for example, has demonstrated through her battle for the right for education for girls, but also so many other boys and girls who are nameless to us and who are trying to bring positive change in their homes, schools, and communities. Moreover, in order to rise the challenges of the future, we desperately need these future generations. So why not involve them? Children are so much more than passive recipients of aid. They really have the power to bring about change. And that's why Kids' Rights initiated not only the Children's Peace Prize Project Fund to help the Children's Peace Prize winners to increase the impact of their work, but has now also initiated a new change-making seed fund for children and youth all over the world to become change makers in their own communities. And I think the multiplier effect of these is enormous. It's like putting thousands of seeds in the ground that can grow and prosper to the benefit of millions. Ladies and gentlemen, the finish line for the UN plans lies in 2030. Today's teenagers will be young adults by then, so why wait involving them? So let us close the gap together with them. So we have to go for the seemingly impossible, as today's winner and change maker show us. And we have to get it done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark Dullard. Our guest of honor today, of course, is Miss Lema Bowie, Liberian peace activist and Nobel Prize laureate in 2011. Fantastic personality. She wants to speak out where she is. She even tried to get on stage here in the first minute of the program, but I ask you to wait a few minutes more. Miss Bowie was only 17 years old when the Liberian Civil War erupted. That was in 1998. And this war, as we all remember, involved unprecedented use of child soldiers against the country's civilian population. And at the center of this all was Charles Taylor, the ruthless warlord, who eventually served as a Liberian president. Faced with over a decade of war atrocities, Ms. Bowie realized that if any changes were to be made in society, it had to be by the mothers. And she became the leader of the peace movement that eventually led to the end of the Civil War in June 2003, forcing James Taylor into exile. Her extraordinary work and life, and that of Liberian women, is honored in an awarded documentary titled Pray the Devil Back to Hell, a compelling testimony of how grassroots activism can really alter the history of nations.
Money, greed, ethnicity, absolute power. There is nothing that should make people do what they did to the children of Liberia. The warlords gave these boys guns and sent them off.
They just do anything because they had guns.
You go to bed saying, God, please. What do we do? I had a dream, and it was like a crazy dream. We decided to protest. We wore the white, saying to people we were out for peace. Thousands of women, Muslim and Christian, were coming together, calling for peace. These women had seen the worst, but they still had that vibrance for life. And we said, well, if I should get killed, just remember me that I was fighting for peace. We stepped out first and did the unimaginable. To send out a signal to the world that we, the Liberian women, we are tired of the killing of our people. We can do it again if we want to.
I want to hear now, gratefully acknowledge the powerful voice of women.
In 2011, Miss Gabowie was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for her non-violent struggle.
There is no time to rest until our world achieves wholeness and balance, where men and women are considered equal and free.
Laima Gabowie emerged as an international leader who changed history for Liberia and for women becoming leading agents of change around the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Miss Laima Bowie. Here she is.
Thank you. If you have been in my shoe, you'll probably be sleeping. I've crisscrossed 4 continents to be here today, from Qatar to New York to here and later on to South America. So I'm so jet lagged, it's not funny. Your Excellencies, it is truly an honor to be here today, celebrating with the young people the future of the world, the International Children's Peace Prize. I want to say a big thank you to Kids' Rights for inviting me, to the team for all of the logistical hassle trying to get me here, but I finally came. I grew up in a small country in West Africa, Liberia, where children were owned by everyone. I grew up in a tiny community on the old road where everyone in that community took responsibility for every child. I grew up in a space where our school year ended in December, and you were required to take your grade sheet to every house to show to every uncle if you've passed. You got $1. If you fail, you got a swat on the head that you were destroying your parents' investment. I grew up in that space where when there was death in one home, we were all marked with charcoal, protecting us from the spirit. And we were sent to other homes to sleep if the death was in our home. I grew up in a country and was socialized to believe that children will be protected by the adults. I grew up with that firm belief, and that belief led me into thinking that when I grow up, I want to be a pediatrician, to treat children, to be nice to them, just as I was socialized to believe. At 17, one day after my high school graduation, my entire world turned upside down. That beautiful country went into war, and that country will be known in history for the country that killed almost 10% of its population. One of the most brutal civil wars Africa and the world had seen. 250,000 deaths, 1 million eternally displaced, 500,000 refugees, an estimated 24,000 child soldiers. Half of them till this day have not received any form or very little form of rehabilitation. I was growing up in that space, was told that children will learn from adults. If you look at our world today, the question you ask yourself, is this the world we want these children to learn? A world where from South Sudan to Syria to Iraq to Afghanistan, we see wars, most horrifying. A world where you have a Europe that has so much resources, but is still standing in a corner and contemplating whether to give a child a warm bed or to win their next political seat. Is this the world we want to turn over to our children? I went to New Orleans after the Hurricane Katrina a few years later, and a little boy about 7 years old said to me, "Miss Lima, I don't watch TV anymore, because every time you turn on the TV, you see murder and murder and murder." The question I asked myself at 7, if this is the world that he sees, how is he going to turn out at 21? But sometimes as I move around and move from place to place, it's very difficult to be hopeful, especially reading the news in the morning today in Unity State in South Sudan. A quarter of the people that died were children. It's so difficult. And I ask myself, how do you sustain yourself in this world when you move from place to place, giving the message of peace and giving the message of hope? And the answer is simple: young people. I move around in all of my Africanness, not just in the way I dress, but in my nosiness and everything that I do. And I tend to look for things that inspire. A few months back, going to a meeting in Manhattan, New York, I saw 2 young men, 3 black boys, go into a nail salon. Instead of going my way, I stopped to observe what these young men were going to do in the nail salon. These 3 young men came out of the nail salon with a pair of slippers. It was even more interesting. I followed them. They're going north. I'm supposed to be going south. I followed them north. What I saw gave me hope. These 3 young men had observed a white man. A white man. In this America today where Black Lives Matter is the biggest hashtag, this old man was trying to move from point A to point B, and his flip-flops were broken. Those 3 boys bought him a pair of brand new flip-flops and handed it to him. I didn't know them. I rushed over and gave them a hug. Of course, typical American kids went, "Whoa, lady." The other example is an example of my own son who went and bought himself a very expensive coat. A few months later, called him, he said, I'm at the store trying to shop for a coat. I said, boy, do you think money runs like a pipe, born water? He said, no, mama. I did what we're all learning to do. What is that? On campus, I saw a kid who just came, and it's very cold, and he's walking in the snow. And I asked him, dude, do you know you can die from that thing you have on in that snow? He said, that's all I can afford. He said, I took off my coat, and I gave it to him. Those are the stories that keep me hopeful. Today, we are here celebrating someone who is doing extraordinary work. Our world is upside down. It seems as if we adults are making a mess every day of a world that we're supposed to leave to these young children. Can we just start doing it a little bit differently? Can we see a Europe that will be more responsive to those children out in the cold? Can we see leaders in Africa that will be more open to leading well so that tomorrow those 17 years old and 18 years old will learn to also be good leaders? Can we see men who will be respectful of the rights of women and the right for them to participate? Can we all make a commitment today that even as we celebrate this International Children's Peace Prize, that we will be more committed to leading lives in our homes, in our communities, and in our societies that children can look at and say, this is something that is worth emulating. The bystanding attitude has taken over our world. It's time for each and every one of us to step out and do something good. Eleanor Roosevelt once said, do one good thing every day that scares you. I've taken that quote and I've turned it upside down. My word to each and every one of you here in this room and those watching us live stream, do one good thing every day that everyone else is scared to do. Thank you. Thank you. I bet you're wondering first, she got up early, now she won't leave. Join me, let's watch a video.
In Liberia, the rights of children are violated on a daily basis. My name is Abraham Keita. I'm from Liberia, and I fight for justice for every child who have felt the pangs of injustice.
Abraham Keita was born 17 years ago in West Point, the largest slum of Liberia's capital, Monrovia. The country faces massive challenges. More than 80% of the people live below the international poverty line. Hunger, disease and violence are part of daily life, and children's rights are often violated. When Keita was born, the country ripped itself apart in a brutal civil war. When he was 5 years old, his father was killed while driving for a human relief organization.
Because I want to do even more greater things than my father.
Keita, his mother and siblings had to fight for survival in the slum.
The man, when he are alive now, he will be happy with his son, what he had done the future.
When Keita was just 9 years old, his strong sense of righteousness was ignited. He chose to become an active participant in a peaceful demonstration to protest the brutal rape and murder of 13-year-old Angel Togba. Keita was determined not to let the perpetrators get away with it and felt compelled to stand up for justice.
I felt she could have been one of my sisters. I felt she could have been a close friend of mine. But again, I said to myself, I too could be sodomized. Just as she was being raped or she was being hanged, I could have been the one in that shoe. So what I did was to be a part of the demonstration, was to be a part of the protest.
When I saw him at the age of 9, I saw a lot of strength, a lot of energy, and a passion to be able to transform his environment.
With that demonstration, a young and passionate advocate for justice was born. Over the past 7 years, Keita has taken a leading role in the Liberian Children's Parliament. Through his many petitions, he has brought numerous accounts of injustice against children to the attention of the national government, and was the driving force in getting the Children's Rights Act passed in 2012.
Last year, when the Ebola crisis started, West Point was quarantined unexpectedly. A 16-year-old boy named Shaki Kamara was shot. And according to the law that is written, that is the Liberia Children's Law, nobody should take the life of a child. I was very angry. We protested, we petitioned our lawmakers that we want justice because Shaki Kamara was a kid.
Keita's protest sparked a national debate and moved the government to acknowledge their responsibility. Only 17 years old, Keita is an important role model for children worldwide because he challenges the idea that children are silent victims whose rights can be disregarded.
It means has a right to life, meaning you get a right to live. I want to see my country be a country where the rights of children are respected, the rights of children are promoted, and that their voice is being adhered to. And as a young man, I feel I have a responsibility to change that situation, and that no matter the slum you come from, you can make a difference. No matter the slum you live in, you can move the world.
Keita leads the rights for children's rights and justice in Liberia. He also lobbies for free education and even launched a children's campaign against rape.
The boy is a good guy. I'm proud, I'm very proud.
My dream is to see a world where every child will receive justice, will be saved from the pangs of violence, will be given the opportunity to participate in decision-making. So that's my dream.
Keita shows that you can speak out and justice can and should be served. His fight for justice is peaceful and powerful. And that's why Abraham Keita is the rightful winner of the International Children's Peace Prize 2015.
Now you see why I made the journey across continents. Before moving to the actual presentation of the award, let me read to you the expert committee's report selecting the 2015 International Children's Peace Prize winner. The expert committee of the International Peace Prize applauds Abraham Keita for his quest for justice for child victims of violence, and that by doing so, he's adding to the recognition of all those millions of children worldwide suffering from violence today. Keita has shown from a very young age that children have an important role to play in demanding the realization of their rights. He has shown that he can identify violation of children's rights, take action to call the perpetrators to account in a peaceful yet powerful way. Keita is a role model for children and adults around the globe, showing the world that justice for children can and should be served. It is the hope and the expectation of the expert committee that the 2015 International Children's Peace Prize will give Keita a worldwide podium for his views and action, and that he will continue to inspire children all over the world to fight for their rights. Therefore, the expert committee of the International Children's Peace Prize has decided to award the 2015 Children's Peace Prize to Ibrahim Keita. Before calling Ibrahim up, we have a native parable. I'll do my best to speak Pele. In Pele, they say, "Nokulo anyenga wa nele anaming akalong." Simply put, the child who watches his hands very well eats with king. Ibrahim, you're on your way to eating with kings. Please join me as I welcome my countrymen and fellow compatriots, 2015, Ibrahim Keita.
May I ask the press to return to their seats? Congratulations, Keita. There's many press here. I mean, they're here from the United States, from China. The BBC is here. You're seen all over the world. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2015 International Children's Peace Prize winner, Ibrahim Keita.
Your Excellencies, fellow Children's Peace Prize winners, Mr. Mike Delight, founder of Case Rice Foundation, my own mother from Liberia, the Nobel Peace Laureate, Madame Liman Bowie, the Chief Prosecutor of the International Criminal Court. Assalamu alaikum. I'd like to begin the speech by firstly giving thanks and appreciation to the Almighty God for keeping me alive up to this period in history and to be awarded this year's Children's Peace Prize. I also like to thank my mother. I love you, and I thank you for all you have done and continue to do for me. And to Mr. Vendelak Arrow Patricks, my mentor, I want to say thank you for nominating me for this prestigious award. I would like to extend my gratitude to the Case Rice Foundation family, especially the expert committee, for selecting me as winner for the 2015 International Children's Peace Prize. I wholeheartedly accept this award for and on behalf of all of the children around the world who are still victims of violence and conflict and yet cannot receive justice. To Aziza and Janesha, the other two finalists, I say we are all winners, and I admire your courage and resilience in the fight for children's dignity in your home countries. I dedicate this award to all children around the world, specifically the children of Liberia, and especially the late Shaki Kamara, a 16-year-old boy of the slum community of West Point. In August 2014, Shaki was murdered in cold blood by soldiers of the Liberian military. The Liberian army opened fire on unarmed children and civilians who were protesting for food when they were unexpectedly quarantined during the Ebola crisis. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, may we all observe a brief moment of silence in reminiscence of the late Shaki Kamara and all of those children who have suffered and continue to suffer injustice, violence, and abuse. Thank you, and may their souls rest in peace. I was born in 1998 in Liberia's largest slum and ghetto, the densely populated community of West Point. West Point is home to over 70,000 hopeless and marginalized people, home to ex-combatants, home to the economically disadvantaged, and home to the sexually assaulted women and girls of Liberia. I was born during the Liberian Civil War, a period that was horrible. During the war, women and girls were raped and made sex slaves. Boys were sodomized and made child soldiers. Every Liberian starved of hunger. It was a period when humans were killed in their thousands and their blood flowed like waters. In 2003, the civil unrest was brought to an end. We had hope that peace, respect for human dignity, and hope for children would be restored. Sadly, this has not been the case, as we still witness violence against the poor in society day after day. Little Shaki Kambara was shot dead more than a year ago. But still today, there has been no justice, as the perpetrators are freely living without any form of remorse. On this historic occasion, I want to appeal to your conscience to join the children of Liberia in ensuring that our government, the government of Liberia, gives justice to all the children who have died as a result of violence. I am a victim of the war in Liberia, and those memories will continue to live with me forever. My father, a driver by profession, was murdered in cold blood in 2003 when I was just 5 years old by rebel forces. My mother has since been a widow, and we live in a slum where mosquitoes and cockroaches are our nearest neighbors. In our community, opportunities are lacking, and poverty is spelled out on our faces. Let me say to you, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, slum communities are in darkness. I have long said that I want to be the light in darkness for children in West Point, Liberia, and the world at large. To give light to the darkness, I joined the Children's Parliament, wrote many petitions for children's rights, and lobbied with the government. I organized several peace marches to demand justice for children. Justice for children is much needed in Liberia. The frequency of violent acts, including sexual abuse against children, is very troubling in the oldest African republic. Regrettably, the rape victims are mostly girls from 4 to 16 years of age. They account for 90% of the total number of rape cases. Every day, 3 children are raped in Liberia. Many victims do not dare report their cases for fear of being killed by the perpetrators or rejected by their families and community. The perpetrators are not often held accountable. Law enforcement officers are constantly bribed to ignore the rights of child victims. I hope to transform the lives of every child around the world. I want to see a world where every crime against children is accounted for. Justice should be given to children. I want to use this occasion to pay a special tribute to the thousands of children who have been made homeless and were killed in Syria. The war must come to an end, as the direct victims of the war are children. I also want to sympathize with the children of Yemen and remind you of the over 200 Chibok schoolgirls of Nigeria and the millions of children around the world who are victims of violent conflict. I want to remind our leaders today that children have the ability to move the world if we are given the opportunity to achieve our full potential. Children have the undeniable weapon of boldness. And such boldness can result into benefits for the good of the family and the greater strength of a nation. All children can make a change, no matter where you come from. I come from the most forgotten slum community called West Point. I am grateful and encouraged that from the slum, a child can win this prize. That from the slum, a child can make a difference. That from the slum, a child can speak out and his voice can be heard worldwide. Though I come from this forgotten slum community, I know that I can make a difference. I know that the slum does not live in me. And I hope that winning the International Children's Peace Prize will bring some light in the darkness in the slums of Liberia, that it can be a symbol of hope for children who are suffering from violence. Violence must end now. Together we can achieve this quest and make children in conflict zones smile again. But I need your support. You have all been children. Your graduation from this social status does not distinguish you from us. You are all alumni of childhood. I therefore invite you today, on behalf of all the children in the world, to stand up for children's rights and support programs that promote our dignity. Please support me to be the light in darkness for children. May God bless you all, and I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Kieta. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand a little more. The winner of 2015, Abraham Keita. Congratulations.
No one you can save that can't be saved. Nothing you can do, but you can learn how to be you in time. It's easy. All you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love. Love is all you need. Love, love, love. Love, love, love. Love, 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 love. All you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love, 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 love is all you need. Love, 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 love. Love, 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 love. Love, 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 all you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love, 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 love is all you need. All we are saved. Give me a chance. 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 All we are saved. All we are saved. All we are saved. Give me a chance. All we are
Ladies and gentlemen, the Rotterdam Philharmonic Orchestra conductor Anthony Hermes, on piano Hans Vromans and orchestration Carlo van der Put, choir Babette Labey, conducted by Calvin Muis, and a special thanks to Mike Shaper-Klaus, creator of this afternoon's musical program. Thank you all very much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all very much for joining us here on this very special occasion. Thank you to you all inspirational speakers who have participated in today's ceremony. Your applause again, last time, for our guests of honor, and especially, of course, for Keita, the 2015 winner of the International Children's Peace Prize.